The doctor puked when you were born. Babies cry when you walk past. The nicest compliment you've ever received is scrotum face. Your disposition affliction, however, is relatively new. People were not always born ugly. Sure, you could take one too many baseball bats to the face, or one too many meth to the teeth, but genetics weren't nearly so vindictive. Purely objectively speaking, you would never look at someone's face and go, ugh. So what changed? Back when these attractive people lived mostly in villages, there was a chief who loved pineapple on pizza. To take advantage of bulk order discounts, it's all his village was allowed. Understandably, a young married couple was desperate to save themselves. The very pregnant wife was very much opposed to pineapple on pizza, saying, quote, "It's a damn fruit." Her husband, also opposed to pineapple on pizza, dared not point out the tomato in the sauce was also a fruit, and instead suggested they visit the village witch. The witch agreed. Pineapple on pizza was a travesty, but since she lived in the woods and made her own food, mostly mushrooms and children, she had no direct conflict. The young couple begged for a way out and offered the witch anything she wanted. The witch did like eating children, but the thought of taking their firstborn was so cliché. She paused to consider her options. This being the time before ugliness, she more closely resembled a sexy witch, as you might see at a celebrity costume party, than the Wicked Witch of the West, or the one in your mirror. Yes, she was a pretty witch, but she was not the prettiest. That title belonged to her stupid older sister, that bitch witch. So the witch pitched a switch. She would solve their pineapple problem in exchange for the pleasantness of their unborn child's face. The parents discussed in private, but only to not appear desperate. Pregnancy made the wife increasingly hungry, and pineapple on pizza made her increasingly angry. It was an unsustainable combination. The pineapple had to go. The witch's demand did give them pause, but the concept of ugliness was completely foreign to them. How bad could it be? The parents agreed to the terms, and the witch performed her spell, results guaranteed in 30 days, or their unborn child's face back. For 29 painstaking days, the wife continued to pick pineapple off her pizza, and grew increasingly outraged. The husband also picked pineapple off his pizza, but did so silently. If their plan backfired, he planned to blame his wife entirely. His plan might not be consistent with reality, or win him an argument, but that wasn't the point. Then, it happened. News reached their village of a pineapple shortage. Costs quadrupled, and the chief could no longer afford his favorite pizza topping, even with bulk discounts. He needed a replacement. Being a fan of fruit, and the color yellow, the chief's choice was clear. Banana on pizza. Somewhere, a monkey paw curled. The married couple couldn't believe it. Banana on pizza? Was this some cruel joke? They had survived pineapple, only to be saddled with an even worse fruit? They put on their shoes, ready to speak to the witch's manager. But at that very moment, the very pregnant wife chose to go into labor. Because it was definitely her choice, and not at all convenient for the narrative. After 26 excruciating hours, and yet another awful pizza, the baby was born. The midwife fainted. The wife cried out in horror. The husband tried, unsuccessfully, to push it back in. It was the ugliest baby the world had ever seen. It was the only ugly baby the world had ever seen. With nothing to compare it to, they could only describe it as the human equivalent of banana on pizza. The midwife drowned herself, and the parents contemplated throwing the baby in after her. Not for their sake, of course, but out of kindness to the newborn. Then their thoughts returned to the witch. She had cursed their baby, and in return swapped out pineapple for an equally reprehensible yellow fruit pizza topping. Not at all what they had agreed to. Baby in hand, but wrapped up tightly in case it was contagious, they stormed the witch's hut. They knocked furiously, and the door opened. Green skin, hook nose, bulbous warts. There were many uncertainties, but one thing was immediately clear. However ugly their baby was, the witch was far, far worse. It was like the real-life equivalent of an integer overflow, or adding 10 cups of butter when the recipe only asked for 1. Her spell had been too powerful and exceeded the limits of human beauty so much it looped back around to the ugliest of ugly. Understandably, the witch was in no mood to negotiate, and the married couple were given some perspective. Their baby was ugly, but not that ugly. If you tilted your head and squinted just right, you could kind of pretend it was a normal baby, or at least normal adjacent. The same could not be said for the witch. Whatever their complaints, they paled in comparison. The couple returned home and looked at their baby in a new light. A boy, the family heir. So what if he was ugly? They could explain it away as being touched by God, or something. A love kindled, and with it, a mission. They had to protect their son, and that meant one thing. No more bananas on the damn pizza. They took out their pizza-desecrating chief the old-fashioned way, by arranging a coup. Cause of death? Suffocation on a banana pizza. The couple gained power by promising the other villagers their own choice of pizza toppings. No more bulk discounts. To secure succession, they arranged a marriage for their ugly, but not that ugly, son. The other parents were initially apprehensive, but came around. After all, they only had to look at their ugly son-in-law when he was in the same room, but could enjoy the benefits of marrying into status 24/7. With that, the ugly gene was introduced into the gene pool, and the human race was forever altered. As for the hook-nosed, green-skinned, bulbous-worded witch, she traveled the world, seeking out other gullible parents to trade away the looks of their children in a vain attempt to restore her own beauty. She spread ugliness to the four corners of the earth, and some say she still stalks the world today. From crooked teeth to eyes slightly too far apart, too much hair to too little hair, weak chins to giant foreheads, if you suffer from any visual affliction, you can blame the jealous witch and your gullible ancestors. Other unattractive qualities, from body odor to squeaky voices, came later, as the ugly gene evolved and intermingled. So now you know why you're ugly. What you do with this information is up to you. I would recommend continuing to take no responsibility for your own shortcomings. After all, you were born this way, doomed from the start. Nothing you do can change your genetics, so why bother? You might as well sit back, relax, and live in squalor. Just don't walk by any mirrors.